Sorry about that. I had to put a light up here so that I can stop being so dark when I come on. Because I'm always seem to be so dark on the camera. So I wanted to talk to you about some different things on changing relationship patterns and managing power. So give a chance for some people to come in um, so that we can talk about some things that might be able to help us. So where is everyone on today? Today is Friday. It's a good day. Good morning to some, good afternoon to others. Happy Friday to each and every one of you. Hoping that you are having a beautiful day, whoever you are, wherever you are, that you are having a beautiful, peaceful day. And so I'm going to get started, whether people come into the chat or not. But I want to just put this out here. It's some good information. And so we're going to be talking about changing relationship patterns and managing power. And, previously I talked about your basic rights in a relationship, your basic rights in a relationship. And there are some things about being assertive, but how to be assertive and being healthy about being assertive, healthy assertiveness, being assertive, but how to be healthy with it. And then just identifying some alternative relationship patterns. And so there are some different types of relationships. There's different types of relationships that you probably are aware of. And so there's 3 different types. And so you have, and if it's trauma generated, then it's going to be some barriers in each type of relationship. And so there's the type 1 where there's equal power between your friend or sibling or coworker or partner or team member, but there may be some barriers that you think about that could lead to problems because you may have some related thoughts about this type of power, equal power in your relationship. Now, it could be your work colleagues, friends, or family members, and you may perceive them or threats. They may be perceived as threats or enemies. And then you will be aggressive, competitive, or you may believe that they are exploiting you. And then sometimes you might think, well, I need to be vigilant and aggressive towards other people. Or you may think that you need to act like you have more power and authority than you actually have to protect yourself. And then lastly, in the type 1 of the equal power, you may need to keep a safe distance from others and not trust them, is what you may be thinking in your related thoughts regarding, this equal power dynamic. And then there's like this type 2 type of power, and thinking that you have less power. And it's with like maybe your employee or supervisor, child, student, or a trainee. And here are some barriers that you may believe that you have less power than someone else. The authority figure or boss is a threat or enemy. You feel anxious and worried that something bad will happen to you if they are displeased with you or they're in a bad mood. Or you may be too eager to please, find it difficult to say no, or not ask for the authority or resources you need or want because you're afraid they will punish you or they will hurt you. And then there's this other thought process under the type 2 where you have less power, is you become angry and accuse them of being exploitive when that might not be true, but you were too afraid to ask for things because you saw what was going on and you made your own interpretation. And then there is the type 3 type of power. And that's where you have more power than the other person, like parent, employer, supervisor, teacher, or coach. You may be in that type of position. And you might have more power than others, and it may make you feel uncomfortable. And so you might come up with some related thoughts about that, like you cannot execute your authority. So you do a bad job as a boss, parent, or leader, or you're afraid to be abusive when you use power, so you don't exert it at all because you don't want to come across as being abusive. And then you might think that, oh, you feel taken advantage of by people that are under your authority. And sometimes you do exert your power, but then something might happen where you do exert your power. And then you may feel mean, or you may have thoughts of being abusive, or you're apologetic, or sometimes, you may take back what you have already said. You might have said something and then you go and take it back because you think you were too mean, or you was abused. You came across as abusive. Hi, Miss Tanya. How you doing, Tanya or Tanya? How are you? It's been a while since I've seen you, and I'm so thankful that you have joined in. And so I'm talking about the power dynamics of trauma-generated barriers in each type of relationship. So I was talking about type 1 is the equal power, where, that's between your friend, sibling, coworker, partner, or team member. And then you have the type 2, where you have less power, and that could be an employee, supervisor, child, student, or trainee. And then the type 3, where you have more power than the other person, as in a position of a parent, employer, supervisor, teacher, or coach. And so you may feel abusive under type 3, what I was saying, or you may feel like you've been mean or abusive, and then you feel bad about it. And one of the things about these power relationships is that you can learn to assert healthy dynamics in these relationships. And so in type 1, you have equal power with a person who is, like I said, is your friend or someone, but you have these thought processes. And then in type 2, you have less power than the other person. And then you come up and have some thought processes as well. And then type 3, yeah, I am glad to see you. And then type 3, you have more power than the other person. And so when you are going through these type of things, there are some things that you can do, and I won't be long before you, but there are some things that you can do to manage the different power balances. And one of the things is always begin with respect. That means respect, being positive, and always end with respect and being positive. So respect is a constant. If you have to deal with someone in a power balance, depending on which one you're in, whether it's type 1, type 2, or type 3, those who have experienced violence, it could be violence, it could be abuse, mistreatment, often at the hands of people who had more authority over you. And there are people that have been in authority over other people, where people under them have been subjected to abuse, trauma, mistreatment, or violence. And so therefore, the violence is an act of disregard, for a person's value and worth. And so when someone has abused someone, they don't value them. They disregard that person's worth. And so you, as a person that might have been subjected to that, you become vulnerable to the violence, and you often find yourself in a circumstance of limited or less power because of that. And when that happens, it can lead an individual to equate having little power and feeling like they have little value, little worth, and little respect. And that's unfortunate for a lot of people. And we see that a lot, where that happens a lot. But then the differences in power balances, we know it's a fact of life. If you go to work and you're not in a management or leadership position, then yeah, someone is going to be have power over you. But it depends how they exert that power over you. But when you have equal power and express openness and interest. So if you're in an equal power relationship, which is type 1, you want to express interest. You want to be open with that person, and you want to be able to respect that other person's point of view, okay, regardless of the nature of a specific power balance. And and they would expect you to want to hear your opinion as well, because we all have opinions and we have, views that we need to share. And then if you have less power, remember, even if you have less power, you have a right to act in ways that respect yourself and your values. So even if someone has authority over you, have more power than you, you still have a right to have that respect. And you still have a right to, respect your values and for them to respect them. And so you speak up in a manner, again, of beginning with respect and being positive and ending that way. And you can say, politely express your point of view, but remember to express respect for others with more power rather than mistrust or fear or abuse. Because some people, they won't respect someone in power because of what they went through in their past. If they definitely have suffered trauma, violence, or abuse or mistreatment, then they won't necessarily respect people of authority. And I've heard people say that. I was in management and leadership for a long time, and I've shared this before. And I had this one employee that was always disrespectful. And she was a female, and she was older than me. And I had another employee that was older than me. And I had to sit them down and explain to them that I am the supervisor here. I am here to lead you and to help you grow. And I want to hear from you. And I want to know what your needs are. But they were two women that were older than me, and they were always being disrespectful towards me. And I learned something with that, which I'll tell you later about that. But this is the thing, I never abused my authority over anyone, because I don't feel that you should do that. I feel you should treat people as human and respect them regardless of the nature of or dynamics of the relationship. But also, when you interact with others with whom you have more power, remember to show respect for the personhood of those who have less power and express your power in a positive way with confidence and warmth. And so there's just some skills, that you can, you have to identify what the situation is, and it comes to, if it's conflict, identify that. And then identify any negative, feelings that you may have that may arise, and ask for help if you need it. And also, if there's a power differential, and if it's accurate, then you want to, be able to really think about how you respond and work together. But let's talk about some things about this. When I was talking about this individual as a female, I learned something that was very interesting, is that if we go back and we look at what we've been taught as females, that when we've been taught as females that we really are looked down upon when we are in a position of authority. So if you are a female in a supervisor or manager position, you're in management, period. You can have other females that will not respect you, that will have a lack of regard for you. And it may be because that's what we've been taught, is that we have always been regarded as not being in a powerful position. Most men have always been placed in a powerful position or upper level position over women. So when women get in leadership, sometimes there are women that will never respect you in the position of leadership because they have some personal views of what they perceive that you shouldn't be in that position because you are a woman. And not just that, there, we talk about discrimination, all that, but I'm saying, or how people don't want to see you as a Black woman. But this isn't about, I'm not talking about a race issue. What I'm speaking about is when you are a female in a leadership position and you are leading a lot of other females, a lot of times, some of them, and I experience that. I'm not saying that happens all the time with everyone. Everybody's experience is different, but I experienced that, and I saw that, and I learned something from that, is that you had a hard time with my authority because you are a female and you don't perceive women to be in a position of authority. And we have to remember that. And if you notice, a lot of times you have females that will come out and share their experience about how they've been treated by other females, and they've been mistreated in the workplace. Because they are in a position of authority. And if you exert any type of assertiveness, positivity, leadership abilities yourself, and sometimes other women can be inferior. They can be inferior. They can be threatened by your leadership ability, even though you may not be in a leadership position, but they can be threatened by that. And I experienced that. When I was in leadership, I definitely experienced that. And so that can happen. And we have to keep that in mind. What is the thought process? Well, originally, we as women probably have been taught from a young age, from a young age that women shouldn't be in power. And even sometimes older women in our family, which are supposed to be teaching the younger women, they will they will say the same thing to you. Well, you can't do that job. That's a man's job. Well, you don't need to be in that position. That's a man's position, or that's a male profession. And you see more women branching out and going to college or technical schools and getting in positions that were normally led by men. But you do have older women, in your family. Elders a lot of times will keep that same thought process going, and sometimes they will promote that in the family because that's the way they were taught and that's the way they were raised. And my mother shared with me that when she got a job, driving the bus for years. My mother drove the bus. She's now, she's been retired now. She's doing well. I love my mother to death, and she's doing well, very active in her elder years. But what I'm going to say is her mother told her that the job that she was getting when she went to apply for a job as a bus driver, that was a man's job and she would never succeed. But my mother succeeded and staying there 25 years. And then she went on to drive a school bus for 10 years. So all I'm saying is that sometimes we have to think about the process of what older women were taught or what other women were taught when you as a woman is in a leadership position. And that's really talking about type 3, where you have more power than the other person. But again, we want to always be positive. Started with positivity and respect, and ended with positivity and respect. And even if you have less power than someone, you still need to understand that you are important, that you are valued, and you need to be respected. And sometimes people feel like they don't have to respect people that report to them, that are in less power than them, that have less power than them, but you do. So you do need to be respected, and you do need to be valued. And sometimes our thought process will bring back some things because we feel like what we've been through. So our thought process will show us that we're thinking on a level that we don't necessarily have to think on that level. It might have been true in the past, but that doesn't mean that it's true now. Hi, Mr. Kenneth. How you doing? But that doesn't mean that it's true now. Some circumstances may have happened then, and then now that might not apply to the same circumstances. So again, I want to go over these. I want to go back and just go back and go over these really quick again with you. So, because some people are tuning in later, the equal power. Friend, sibling, co-worker, partner, team member. You have equal power. But then there's these alternative thoughts where you think of situations you have observed where equals work well together. And then you work with colleagues, peers, friends, or family members are interested in what you have to say. They are open to hearing you out and coming to know you. And then you may be able to share your thoughts and feelings with honesty. You are collaborators and equals, respecting yourself and the other person, and you might be able to trust them, and you might be able to get close to them. And then type number 2, you have less power, employee, supervisee, child, student, or trainee, where you have less power than someone else. And then you have these alternative thoughts. Think of situations you have observed where a person with less power managed a tough situation. The authority figure may be fair and interested in your point of view. You own up and apologize if you have made an error or hurt them, and plan to do things differently next time. Respect for yourself. And then you don't have to believe every negative someone else says about you. And you don't have to always respond to every negativity. Some things are just, you don't need to entertain. You don't need to respond to it. And we see that a lot on social media platforms. And now you can communicate, with others about your point of view, but you don't have to necessarily respond to the person that's attacking you or saying something negative about you. And then you may feel angry and believe the authority figure is exploiting you. And you take a time out, check in on your feelings, and maybe talking with others to reassess before you act. And sometimes it's good to take a time out, step back, and reassess your feelings and reassess what someone is saying, so that you don't get so caught up in your emotions that you fly off the handle. Sometimes it's best to reflect, take a step back, reflect, take a break from the chaos, and then respond if you need to. And then type 3, you have more power than the other person, the parent, the employer, supervisor, teacher, and coach. You have more power than others. And there are some alternative thoughts. Think of leaders who are role models to you. If you can go back and think of leaders that are role models to you, you have confidence in your authority, you've earned it, and you can share your skills and knowledge. Or you can use your authority with kindness and warmth, respecting those with less power. And then when you feel taken advantage of by those under your authority, take a time out and check in on your feelings and those of others. Thank you, Kenneth. And then when you feel like you're going to be mean and abusive, review the situation. Review it. Take a time out. Review it with respect for the other person. And remember, the other person is a human being. They are valued. They deserve to be respected, and they deserve to be heard out so that you don't attack the other person. And revise as needed what you plan to say. So your first instinct is to say, yeah, I'm going to go at them. I'm going to tell them off. But that's not what you need to do. Oh, okay, I'm a veteran myself, Kenneth. But that's not what you need to do, is to attack someone else. Because remember, we want to be able to take the high road, and we want to be able to grow and be able to lead people healthy, have healthy assertiveness. And then do your words. Think about it. Do your words and tone reflect the respect for the other person. Because you can say you have respect for others, but does your tone and your actions, your whole demeanor, does that reflect respect for the other person? And then when you've had a bad day and actually act mean and you got to apologize. When you've had a bad day and you start acting mean, step back and say, you know what, I'm so sorry. My day hasn't been well, or it hasn't been going well, or I had a bad day. And I'm sorry for that. And that shows respect for yourself and the other person. When you can humble yourself and admit when you're wrong and admit when you have came off the wrong way, but when you can apologize, then that shows that shows the respect for yourself and for the other person. So there are some guidelines for managing power, because we know that managing power dynamics in relationships can be difficult. It can be very difficult. But if you remember to treat yourself and the other person respectfully, the interaction will go better. The interaction will go better. And so when you have equal power, express openness and interest in the other person's point of view. Expect they will want to hear your opinion as well. And then when you have less power, remember that you have a right to act in ways that respect yourself and your values. And I'm going to get to the comments in a moment. Give me a moment. I thank you for your comments. Politely express your point of view, but also remember to express respect for others with more power rather than with mistrust or fear of abuse. And then when you have more power, remember to show respect for the personhood of those with less power and express your power in a positive way with confidence and warmth. And this is just a short video to try to, encourage people, because there's a lot going on out here. There's a lot of disrespect, a lot of things going on. But how can we do better as people? And how can we help our other people to help manage what's going on when you have different dynamics and different, power dynamics in relationships? Let me read your comment. So Kenneth, thank you so much. Welcome to the chat, the comments. I appreciate you. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to the channel. I do have a lot of topics that I talk about, biblical and social topics and different things like that. So I do appreciate you coming over and joining in with us. And it says that you miss your Army life, Kenneth. Yeah, I'm a veteran myself as well. And I have family members that are active duty and have served and retired in the military. So thank you for your service. And then Tanya, you say that, okay, you have... Absolutely. That's very important, Ms. Campbell. Yeah, take it away from the customers. You definitely don't want to argue in front of customers at work. And I think that is very important to understand. What do we do each day? Most of us that work, we spend our time with our coworkers and we spend our time with our family members. And if you're married or in a relationship, what about the personal guidelines, in a relationship, and how can you better manage that? And one of the things that's important too is about the word, when you say you do this to me and you do that to me and you've done that to me, that puts the other person, even though they may have done those things to you and they may still be currently doing those things to you. That puts you, the other person, in an offensive position. So a lot of times when we want to be assertive, we want to do it in a healthy way. And we want to be able to say, you know, when you do this, this is how this affects me. Instead of saying you do this, because when you do this, it's going to probably start a back and forth, you know, you did this, you did that, no, you did this, no, you did that. So instead of saying you did this, and when you do this, I just say, you know, when you do this, or, you know, this is how I feel. This is how it makes me feel. And getting to what you're saying, we never want to argue in front of the customers. That's one thing that I would always share with my staff. Do not argue in front of the customer. Take yourself out of it and just say, can you hold on for just a moment? Or just let your coworker handle it. And step back. And if they don't handle it well, remember there's a supervisor, or manager, or a team leader that will be able to address the issue. And if it's not handled well, the customer usually is going to let the person know, and they'll, next thing you know, I want to speak to your supervisor, I want to speak to your manager. That's what happens. So sometimes we have to take ourselves out of that situation, what you're speaking about, Ms. Campbell, and say, you know what, okay, you handle it. Thank you, ma'am, or sir, have a good day. This person, whoever your coworker is, they're going to go ahead and take care of you. That's how you step back and get yourself out of a situation like that. And as far as being this woman, an older woman, yelling, you know, and you're like, oh my God, she's yelling at me, she's going on. I'm telling you, I experienced, like I said, there was 2 women that were older than me, and I was their supervisor. And I'm not being biased because someone agrees with me or they're sharing their experience with me with an older woman. But what happened is they did not show respect for me. And I realized that was one of the things that I did notice. And I had to sit each one of them down and talk to them about it. You know, and one particular woman, I really, you know, she was actually my race. She was, you know, Black. And the other woman was Hispanic. Now, the Black woman, I could see her thought process even more, because I believe, I'm not sure if she was the same age as the other woman, but they were definitely older than me by about, I would say, from 3 to 5 years. And I saw it at different times. One of the women, the Black woman, and I don't want to really use her race, but she actually just didn't want to do what I asked her to do. Even though I knew what I was doing, I knew my job very, very well. And I had to sit her down and say that, you know, I am the supervisor and I need you to hear me out, but I need you to listen to what I'm saying, because this is how we do, and this is the process. So I always brought processes. And then I also made sure I had backup with policies and procedures so that they understood. And that was one of the things, but I did have to say to her that I am the supervisor and I need you to respect me as the position of being in this position of authority. But I always delivered it with respect, or I tried to do my best. And if I came off the wrong way after listening, when we would sit down, I apologized. I said it was never my intent to be disrespectful, never my intent to elevate my voice, because I am a person that grew up in a home with a lot of people, and we used to talk. And if you upstairs, you yell downstairs. You didn't run down the steps and say, can I talk to you? My mother used to call us from upstairs. She'd be downstairs calling our name. We upstairs. But I've learned not to do that when it came to, you know, my family. Just let me just go downstairs and talk to them, because I don't like yelling. And I can lose my voice a lot more quicker because I do a lot of public speaking. So for me, I have to protect my voice because I can lose my voice. And I actually was going to be speaking one time. I had to preach that Sunday, and I actually lost my voice. And my brother told me, stop talking, because I had to get my voice back by that Sunday. So, you know, but nevertheless, what I'm saying is, and then there was the other woman. It didn't matter. She just was always disrespectful, period. You know, and no matter what you did to sit down with this female, she was like that. And so she was disciplined several times. because she was like that. And it wasn't even just with me. She started with other coworkers and they complained. And she literally was that type of person. And so when she went on vacation, she was off. Guess what the coworkers would say to me, my team? They would say it personally to me. I'm glad that so-and-so's not here because it's so peaceful. It's so nice. Nobody's bickering. Nobody's feeling upset, and feeling abused or whatever. And that was really, difficult to have to hear other people feel like they had been mistreated by this person as well. And she felt that she was the matriarch of the work area because she was the oldest. And in her family, she is the matriarch. She has like 4 sons and she's doing it all. And she's still raising young men, raising men, male children or male adult children. She raised them to not be accountable. She raised them to not be responsible. She's raised them to still live in the same household with her. And these is grown folks. You know what I'm saying? So when you have that dynamics, you have to learn your audience and who you're dealing with. And you have to try to come at them respectfully and positive and kind and be kind. But you got to come at them from a different way when you start to see those things. The next day, the same lady. See, exactly. See, that's why you step back. That's why you have to step back and say, you know what? When you are up there with another coworker and there's a customer or a patient, even if you worked in a hospital, and there's 2 people, you and the coworker. Guess what? One of you need to step back and take care of that customer or that patient or that client. I would say that client. You got to step back. You got to step back and one of you got to step back. Take the L and step back and say, you know what? Miss Jones is going to help you. Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming in, but Miss Jones is going to help you. And that's all you do. You're right. Because in her case, she was hot-headed and she never took the time out to count to 10. And it's important to count to 10. I'm going to tell you that. People might laugh, but guess what? Some old techniques that we've been taught, in customer service many years ago or decades ago, it works. When somebody is doing all that, whether it's a client, customer, patient, or coworker, stop, step back, take a time out, take a deep breath, count to 10, and don't do it with like a smirk or an attitude or roll of the neck. Just say, you know what? Okay, let me back out. Okay, let me just back out. Okay, you got this. If you need my help, ask me, but you got this. Because sometimes people are going to sink or they're going to swim. And in her case, guess what happened to her? She sunk. And now look where she's at. She's going to have to come back up to the surface. And I hope that she's able to learn from that and come back up to the surface, right? She got to come back up to the surface. If we want to learn from our mistakes, it doesn't make us failures, but we need to learn from our mistakes. And how can we handle situations better than the way we're handling them? And it's true. You don't have to argue with anyone. You don't have to argue, but do you need to be assertive when you need to be? Absolutely. But we have to practice healthy assertiveness, not, being disgruntled and attacking the other person and being disrespectful. We don't want to do that, but we want to practice assertiveness, and you don't have to argue with anyone. But you do need to be able to understand what I've been talking about on my other, videos when we talk about the Joyce Meyer's books, like we're in now, the authentically and uniquely you. You are valued and you are worth being respected. And that's important. And even if anyone has been subjected to trauma or mistreatment or abuse, you still have a right to be treated with respect and to be valued. And I know that it's easier said than done, because when you have been through some traumatic situations and abuse and trauma, sometimes we, as the individual that has been through it, we have a hard time accepting that we deserve, to be treated with respect and to be treated with kindness and to be valued. And especially if it was someone that was in a place of authority over you, in a place of authority, and you really trusted this person, and they even convinced you not to report, the mistreatment or the abuse, that happen are the violence, you know, and so that can be difficult, but you can get past it. But you also have to know that God loves you. If you believe whatever your beliefs are, but God does love you and value you and want the best for you, no matter what you've been through. And he wants you to be healed. And we have to want to be healed ourselves and not stay in a victim or victimized state. We want to move from that and move to a place that I can live. I can have joy. I can be happy, regardless of what my past was. Yes, I'm going to always have my past because that's who I am. But I don't want my past to see me as a failure. I don't want my past to see my mistakes as where I can't never grow, that I can't never manage what I've been through. And I don't want to walk around with my head held down, always got what happened to me just all over my face. We don't want to live like that, you know. And so it's important, again, to always begin your conversation or a meeting, if you're with your supervisor or, you know, boss, to all, or any relationship, to always begin with respect and positivity, and then to end with respect and positivity. And I hope that this video has helped someone today. Don't forget to share the video. Don't forget to thumbs up the video. If you haven't done that, before you leave, please thumbs up the video. And then don't forget, if you're not a subscriber, to subscribe to the channel. I used to come on every single day, but I have other things going on. So I try to come on once a week, at least once a week, to give you something that we can actually use to help us. And there's a lot going on in this world. There's a lot of issues in this world, whether it's in government, whether it's on your job, it's out in the, you know, when you go out in the world, there's a lot of stuff going on at killings and fast food restaurants, you know, all types of stuff happening. And so, and even in the schools, what I've noticed around my communities, the schools are now putting fences up. The schools that didn't have them are now getting brand new gates and stuff put up around their schools to protect the children. So there's a lot going on. And so if we can learn to do better. Oh, you are? I'm going to keep you in prayer. You're a roadside technician. I would definitely keep you in prayer. I would definitely, roadside technician. Yeah, that's, and look at all the drivers, like the UPS drivers and Federal Express drivers that are out here delivering packages day to day. And they even started to attack, you know, drivers and things. So I definitely will keep you in prayer. What I do is when I see construction going on, you know, on the side of the road, you know, I slow down. And we should slow down because we want to make sure that we value and have regard for the life of others that are out here taking care of our roads. That's so important. But there's a lot of people that don't do it. And I watch them just zoom past me. I had a truck. Now check this out. Before I get off, yesterday I was, the day before yesterday, I was coming home and I heard this, you know, first responder, AMR coming up, and I could see it in my side, you know, side view mirror. So I went to pull over and it was a truck behind me. Now, you know, that truck never pulled over. The truck went around me and kept going. And here is the ambulance trying to get past to get to whatever their destination or address. And I thought about it and I said, well, wouldn't they want them to preserve their family's life and to get there, you know, if it was their family that was having an emergency? So why would you not want to pull over? And I kind of thought about that, but that's the lack of regard that people have now. So if we can have a better regard for others and, you know, to try to help others and give good advice, you know, oh, it's raining in Scotland. I wish it was raining here. We need some rain because right now we have a drought and it's been very, very hot here. So Kenneth, what's the temperature in Scotland? What's the temperature there? Can you tell me what the temperature, because here is like 90 some degrees here, but the humidity is high. So what's the temperature there? So anyway, you know, with that being said, don't forget, you know, begin with a statement that recognizes positive aspects or behaviors of the other person and state your request, your concern, decision, or point of view. And then end with a statement that again recognizes the positive aspects or behaviors of the other person. That's important to begin, like I said, and end with respect. It's cold today, but it was warm for a couple of days. Oh, wow. You know what? I think I would love to have some type of coldness on today, because we have really, a lot of places here in the States, have really been going through a lot of heat wave. And I've talked to several different people around different states, and they are really in a heat wave. And out here in California, it's just really hot, and we have a drought going on. So that makes it worse. So I would love to just have a cold day. But when you say it was warm, what was the temperature like those couple of days that it was warm? Was it in the 50s? Was it in the 60s? What was it? What was the temperature during the warm days? Because I know here, when we talk about warm days, there are warm days that are like high 70s, low 80s. Or then there are some days that's just right now, like just extremely hot. And that's what we're dealing with right now, is just some extremely hot days. And I'm hoping that we will get past this. And this is also, Kenneth, the season for fires out in California. You get a lot of fires, in California. And so this is the season, this is the season for it. And matter of fact, I woke up to something that was burning, and I had my windows cracked. And I actually had to close my windows because some of the smoke got in my house. Not a lot, but it got in enough where I could smell it. Oh, it was 33 and 40 down in London, hottest day ever in England. In San Francisco, have you heard of San Francisco, California? In the evening, around 4:30 or 5, it gets really cold there in San Francisco. But around, I believe, 11:30 to 12 or 1 o'clock, maybe 2, it starts to get warm. But you always should take a jacket, because when I went to San Francisco a couple of years ago, I really loved San Francisco, but I was so cold. And Oakland too. Oakland, California gets very cold too. It gets cold there in the evening, and I was like freezing. I had a jacket, but I should have brought a heavier coat. And it was in the summertime when I went. It was actually in June when I went to Oakland and San Francisco, and it was very, very cold in the evening. So yeah, I learned something. So I said, next time I go, I will definitely take a coat with me, and when in the evening, so that when you're traveling in the evening, then you will be protected. Oh, you love Scotland? I always like to learn about other countries and stuff like that. And Scotland is very interesting to me. And I've had family members to travel overseas in the military, and I went overseas, but not to like Scotland or anything like that. And they've been to Japan, South Korea, stationed in South Korea, in Seoul and different places like that. And they really respected and appreciated their experience that they had from being in other countries other than America. And you get to see the way they live and how they do things over in their country. Do you have a passport by chance? Do you have a passport? Because if you have a passport and you're able to travel, maybe one day you could travel to, the United States. You could travel and go to San Francisco or go to Los Angeles or Hollywood or something like that, or maybe even go to New York. You might want to go to New York, see what it's like, to go to New York or something like that. Yeah. So I definitely, I come on, like once a week, and do my videos. And if you want to check out my other videos, they're out there. There's different videos, that are out there, you may be inspired by them, or you just want to, join in. I again appreciate you coming on and joining in. I truly appreciate it. And everyone that has come in or have stopped by the video, I truly appreciate you stopping by. Okay, prayers to you. Definitely have some traveling grace to you, that you'll be able to travel across America and get to do some sightseeing, get to take some pictures, but just be safe. Just follow all of the policies and procedures or the laws that America has to keep yourself safe, because you want to be able to travel abroad, have a good time, and you also want to make it back home safely. And that's the important thing. making it back home to your family safely. So with that being said, I pray for traveling grace for you. I hope you have a beautiful time. Take pictures, lots of pictures. Eat you some good food, some different types of food, while you're traveling, and just have a really good time. But always be aware of your surroundings. Definitely that. Be aware of your surroundings, because, there's a lot that people, they do. Whether, even when you go to different countries, if you're leaving America and going somewhere else, you just have to learn the laws, learn what the laws are, and respect people's laws, respect people, because that's a big thing, is being able to respect people's laws, their country with their laws, and just respecting, their cultures and things like that, just learning that. So with that being said, I hope all of you have a beautiful Friday, a wonderful, blessed weekend. Peace out.